All right, we've got time for one more, and we have another theist from the UK, except this one I like. I like this theist from the UK. Can we get Sam Chaos on the line, please?
Absolutely.
All right. Hi, Sam. Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Oh, gosh. Sam, I'm so sorry. Your name was so long. Can I just call you Sam for the lower third there?
Yeah.
There we go.
I presumed it would just be Sam anyway. It just kind of also feels whenever I put in forms at this point, Sam Chaos.
Okay.
There we go. All right. What's up?
So I was having a conversation the other day, and it raised an interesting question for me. That I was speaking to a man who was a Tory, a conservative, but he was his big opening thing in the conversation with me was basically, I'm gay and I disagree with the left and this makes me a pariah.
Oh, God. Okay.
But his reason for siding with the Tories was simply that he is against trans people because some trans people say you don't have to experience dysphoria to be trans.
Yeah.
Which I 100% agree with. But then I brought up the idea of gender euphoria to him, and he just never heard it.
Yeah.
And so for anyone in the audience who might not be familiar, gender euphoria is effectively the converse of gender dysphoria, where through performing a certain gender, you get a sense of enjoyment or happiness or fulfillment. And this is a thing I experienced. I experienced both. Some people experience just gender dysphoria. Some people experience just gender euphoria. But, is it worth bringing up more in conversation, do you guys think?
Absolutely. I like that Eric just put the Steadicam on me for a minute there. He's like, gender conversation. Tossing it over to me.
I had some technical issues I was working out, trying to do that behind the scenes, calling me out. Okay, that's fine.
Sam, I think you're absolutely right. I think gender euphoria is not only a positive way to look at the trans experience, but also does avoid a lot of that gatekeeping that happens when you talk about dysphoria, right? The kinds of dysphoria and who has it worse and how many different kinds do you have versus how many kinds do I have? And that's a valid conversation to have, but when you're talking about another person's identity, it becomes this kind of race to the bottom in a way. And I think using gender euphoria just within the community first is so, so important, because it really does move it into this space of here is a positive thing that I experience as a trans person. Who else experiences this positive thing, and how can we get more people to experience this? Because it is very positive. I live for those moments, right? Those are so amazing to have. And then externally, outside of the community, it does also help because a lot of people also experience gender euphoria who aren't trans, right? You talking to random Becky on the street, right? And you're like, hey, Becky, do you remember that time that you got dressed up for a night out and you looked in the mirror and you were like, I am killing it. I look great. My hair is good. My makeup's on point. My eyebrows are on fleek. All of these things. And of course, Becky's going to go yeah, I felt that. I felt that feeling of strength and joy in looking at myself and how I am presenting as a woman. Great. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what I get when I present in X way, right? That is such a common experience that doesn't alienate, but rather brings up a shared goal between pretty much everybody, except, possibly for agender folks. But yeah, I think gender euphoria is an awesome way to go about that conversation.
I thought it might be, but I just wanted a second opinion, and I value your guys' opinions.
Well, yeah, I think that changing that tactic and being like, okay, well, let's talk about dysphoria if that comes up and if that's the conversation. But yeah, let's talk about it in this other way. Have you heard of this term? Have you experienced this thing? And that can really help a lot of conversations around this that might have been framed as negative or combative in the past for people. So, yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it also takes a pathological element out of it.
Yeah.
Pathological? Have I used that word correctly? My head's blanking.
No, exactly. I think you're spot on there.
Yeah. It's amazing the amount of times that I bring it up to someone who says they're familiar with trans issues and they've just never heard the term.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause it's not brought up as much as it should be, I don't think. But yeah, Sam, if you wanted a second opinion, that is it. My opinion is officially you are correct in this.
I seriously am so out of my depth.
But here's the thing.
The
Here's
only
the cool thing
observations
about,
that I can provide are very surface level ones that I think.
But no, that's the cool thing about gender euphoria is, have you ever experienced a day where you've looked in the mirror and been like, oh yeah, I'm killing it?
Sure.
Yeah, that's gender euphoria.
Okay. So my the way I had thought about it is like, some when I see guys at a sports bar, or probably every day for Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I go, well, if that's the measuring stick that I'm supposed to be using, I'm boned.
Well, most of us are.
If we're lucky.
Most of us wish we could be if we're talking about Jason Momoa.
This is true.
But here's what I'm thinking. I know that you talk about how wearing your boots makes you feel.
Oh, that's true. But I guess I never contextualized that around gender. See, I don't know.
When you put them on, you're like, oh, I get to be that 6 foot, and I'm like walking in, and I feel good.
Okay. For those men who are under 6 feet tall, I got to tell you, I was right near the line, and I put on cowboy boots, and it popped me over the line. The world is different for people who are over 6 feet tall. It's amazing. People are nicer to you. They listen to you more.
If you're a dude.
More people are attracted to you. I thought I said dudes. Yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, point being, you might be out of your depth in terms of experiencing that from a trans perspective, but you still experience it. And you just need to, like, when someone brings up, oh, you mentioned you felt really good when you wore this thing or looked this way or put your hair in this configuration, then yeah, that's what we're talking about. And the way that we get it is by, dressing or presenting the way we do.
See, I that takes me down a route that obviously is a very short route that we're going to agree on, and that is that, well, then it's my definition of gender. And I'm happy with how I'm presenting to the world, but that means that my definition is different from other people's definition, which means that if we're going through that from a gender perspective, then my gender presentation is not the same as another person's gender presentation. And when people say that there are as many genders as there are people, that's kind of what they're referring to.
And there
Correct
are only
me if I'm
83 people.
And none of them are attack helicopters.
No.
And so because of that, people get really, really upset. But in the context of the way that we're talking about this, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You just need to understand the context, because if not, then if you never have, like we said earlier in the show, if you never have the first conversation, you're sure as hell not going to get through to that second conversation.
And gender euphoria specifically is a good way to get through to that second part without getting stuck on that dysphoria cycle that a lot of gender critical people are frankly prepped to argue about. So yeah, it could very easily get you to that next part, but we need to wrap up because we're about
Cheers.
5 minutes out.
Oh my.
Sam, thanks for calling. I really like talking to you.
Yeah, well, nice to chat to you guys.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.